Mia stood trembling in the courtroom, clutching a crumpled paper as the judge eyed her with disbelief. Her parents, once perfect, now sat frozen. Then, Mia spoke. She revealed dark secrets that shook the room, but what followed, proof of her mother's hidden crimes, shocked everyone. The truth she uncovered would change everything. What happened next will leave you speechless. In the heavy silence of the courtroom, the weight of expectation presses down on 10-year-old Mia. The air is thick, almost suffocating, as she makes her way to the witness stand. Her small hands grip the edges of the paper tightly, as though holding on to it is the only thing keeping her together. Each step feels like it echoes throughout the room, amplifying the tension that hangs in the air. The judge, a man with sharp, weathered features, watches her intently. His gaze is cold, calculating. His years on the bench have hardened him, but even he can't hide the skepticism that flickers in his eyes as he takes in the sight of this young girl trembling in front of him. The courtroom is full of whispers, lawyers, jurors, and the onlookers, people who have come to witness the drama unfold, all cast their doubt. They see a young child, no older than a schoolyard student, and they wonder what she could possibly know about the weighty matters at hand. Her parents, successful professionals known throughout their community, are seated just a few feet away. Everyone knows them, respects them. It's hard to imagine them as anything but the perfect couple, the perfect family. But now, as Mia steps up, the truth begins to unravel, piece by piece. Mia's voice cracks as she begins to speak. It's soft, but there's a fire behind it, a burning need to make sure the truth is heard, no matter how hard it might be. She pauses for a moment, glancing briefly at her parents. Her mother's eyes are downcast, her face pale and drawn. Her father sits with his arms crossed, his expression unreadable, but Mia knows the anger that simmers beneath the surface. She's seen it. She's felt it. The words she speaks next are heavy, as though each syllable has been dragged from deep within her. Her voice shakes as she recalls the terrifying night that no one was meant to hear about, the night that has been buried in silence for far too long. She speaks of the fight, one that was unlike any argument she had ever witnessed before. Her mother and father had never raised their voices like that, not like this. It started as a disagreement, something small, but quickly escalated. Her father's anger, something she had always feared but never understood, took over completely. She remembers the venom in his words, how they sliced through the air, each one more vicious than the last. "You don't know what you're talking about," he had yelled. "You never listen! You never get it!" His face had been red with rage, his fists clenched as he shouted. Mia had hidden behind the couch, clutching her knees to her chest, too scared to move, too scared to make a sound. Her mother, who had always been so calm and collected, had tried to reason with him, but her father was too far gone. He was a different person when he was angry. Mia had seen it before, but this time, it was worse. This time, it felt like he was going to break everything. And then, in an instant, it happened. Her mother had turned and fled the house in tears, her sobs echoing down the hall. Mia had watched from her hiding place, her heart pounding in her chest as her mother disappeared into the night. She didn't know where she had gone, but the fear in her mother's eyes was unmistakable. That was the moment Mia knew something was wrong, something deep, something dark. Mia's breath hitches as she continues, her eyes locked on the judge's face, her voice growing stronger with each word. She is here to tell them all. This is not the story they think it is. This isn't just a fight between two people. This isn't a mere disagreement. It's the beginning of the unraveling of everything she thought she knew. Her parents have been hiding a secret so terrible that Mia couldn't keep it to herself any longer. Weeks before the court case had even started, Mia had uncovered the truth. She had found the clues hidden in plain sight, in places she hadn't thought to look before. She had found the hidden phone messages, the strange conversations late at night when her parents thought she was asleep. She had overheard enough to piece it all together, even though she didn't fully understand the implications at the time. But now, standing in the courtroom, the weight of it all is suffocating. Her father's anger, her mother's pain. Mia now knows it wasn't just a family matter. It was bigger than that. It was something far darker than she had ever imagined. Her voice falters for a moment, but she doesn't stop. She can't stop now. She has to finish what she started, no matter how hard it is. "I know what you did," she whispers, more to herself than to anyone else. But the words carry through the courtroom like a bomb going off. The room falls into stunned silence. Everyone, from the judge to the spectators, holds their breath. Even her parents look up now, their expressions shifting, though neither one dares to speak. Her mother shifts uncomfortably in her seat, her fingers ringing together in her lap. Her father's face hardens, his jaw clenching. But Mia can see it now. The fear. The same fear she had seen in her mother's eyes that night. Mia feels the weight of the moment, and for a brief second, she wonders if she's made a mistake. But then she remembers what she uncovered, what she learned. She remembers the things they tried to keep hidden. She remembers the phone calls, the whispered arguments, the way her parents kept looking over their shoulders, as though they were afraid someone would find out the truth. And now, in this courtroom, Mia is the one who's found it. She's the one who's going to make sure the truth is told. The judge leans forward, his expression still skeptical, but there's a flicker of something like doubt crossing his face. He clears his throat, about to speak, but Mia cuts him off. She isn't done yet, not by a long shot. She knows there's more to this than anyone can see. She's not just going to let it end here. "I know what happened that night," Mia continues, her voice steady, though her heart is racing. "And I know who's really to blame." The courtroom is completely still now. Every eye is on Mia. The tension in the air is palpable. Mia's parents look away, as if they can't bear to face the truth. But Mia isn't backing down. She's here to speak for what's right, for the truth, no matter how ugly it may be. Her eyes lock with the judge's, and for a fleeting moment, she sees something shift in his gaze. It's brief, but it's there. A glimmer of something that might just be belief. But Mia isn't done. The weight of what she has to say next is even heavier than before. She has to reveal everything, the secrets, the lies, the truth no one ever wanted to face. The clock is ticking, but Mia knows the hardest part is still ahead. She takes a deep breath and prepares to speak the final words that will shatter everything. But as she opens her mouth, something shifts in the room. A murmur runs through the crowd, and Mia can feel the walls closing in. She knows the truth is about to be laid bare. She just doesn't know what happens next. This is only the beginning. And whatever happens next will change everything. The courtroom falls into an oppressive silence. Every pair of eyes is now trained on Mia, who stands at the witness stand, clutching the edges of her paper with trembling hands. The weight of the moment is unbearable, and Mia can feel the eyes of everyone, jurors, the judge, her parents, the defense lawyer, focused on her. For a second, the world seems to close in around her, but she refuses to let the fear take control. She knows what she has to do. The defense lawyer, a tall man with an air of arrogance about him, stands to his full height and fixes his cold gaze on Mia. His voice rings out, laced with disdain. "You're just a child," he says, his words cutting through the silence like a sharp knife. "What do you know of these matters?" His challenge is deliberate, an attempt to dismiss her testimony, to undermine her credibility with a mere wave of his hand. The courtroom is a battlefield, and Mia is the unexpected soldier, young, small, seemingly powerless. The defense is banking on the assumption that the jury will see her as nothing more than a confused, innocent child who doesn't understand the complexities of the world she's caught up in. But Mia is no longer that terrified little girl hiding behind the couch. The words she speaks now are not the desperate whispers of a scared child. They are the hard truths she's pieced together, the revelations that can no longer be ignored. Her voice trembles at first, but with each word, it grows stronger. "I overheard the phone calls," Mia begins, her eyes steady as she faces the defense lawyer. The words are out before she even knows it, but once they've been spoken, there's no taking them back. "Late at night, when I was supposed to be asleep, I heard you both talking." Her voice falters slightly, but she presses on. You argued about things you kept hidden, about things you didn't want anyone to know." The room is still, the silence so thick it feels suffocating. Every person in the courtroom is hanging on her every word, even the defense lawyer, who seems momentarily taken aback by her bluntness. The other lawyers shift uncomfortably in their seats, while the judge leans forward, clearly intrigued despite himself. Mia's mother, sitting just a few rows away in the front, has not once lifted her gaze to meet Mia's eyes. Her face is a mask of terror and guilt, but there is no defense, no words to explain the web of lies she's been caught in. Mia continues, her words now flowing with more confidence, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "I heard the arguments, the threats, and then I heard things that weren't supposed to be said. That night when everything changed." Her hands are shaking, but she holds on to the paper so tightly that her knuckles turn white. "You told him to cover it up. You told him to lie." The defense lawyer scoffs, trying to regain control of the situation. He sneers and shakes his head, taking a step forward. "Child, you don't know what you're talking about," he snaps. "These are just words, just misunderstandings. You're making things up." But Mia doesn't back down. She doesn't flinch. "I'm not making it up," she says, her voice calm and unwavering. "I know what I heard. I know what I saw." She pauses for a moment, her eyes briefly flickering to her mother before looking back at the defense. "I know that my mother was involved in the cover-up. She helped him hide the truth." There's a palpable shift in the room. The air thickens, charged with a new energy. The defense lawyer's smug confidence falters for a moment, and the judge's eyebrows furrow as he processes her words. Mia's testimony is beginning to pull at the threads of a case that had once seemed straightforward. Her mother, the calm and poised professional, the perfect image of maternal care, how could she be involved in something so sinister? The doubt starts to creep into the judge's mind, but he keeps his composure, his face still stern, even as the revelations continue to unfold. Mia can feel the weight of the room's disbelief. They don't want to believe her. They don't want to think that the woman who has always been respected, admired, even loved by many, could be capable of something so dark. They don't want to believe that Mia's own mother was part of a cover-up so massive, so damaging, that it could shatter everything they thought they knew about her family. But Mia isn't here to protect anyone. She's not here to shield the people who have betrayed her. The truth has to come out, no matter the cost. "I know you didn't want anyone to know the truth," Mia says, her voice now gaining strength with every word. "You kept it hidden. You lied. You lied to everyone, even to yourself. And I'm here to make sure you don't get away with it." A murmur runs through the courtroom, disbelief rippling through the crowd. Mia's parents are now visibly shaken. Her mother's hands are clasped tightly in her lap, her nails digging into her skin as if she's trying to hold herself together, trying to keep the truth from slipping out. Her father, once the pillar of their family, looks anything but calm. His face is pale, his lips pressed into a thin, tight line, and his hands are clenched in fists at his sides. The defense lawyer sneers, looking at the judge with an almost dismissive expression. "This is preposterous," he says, shaking his head. "She's a child. She doesn't know what she's talking about." But Mia's words ring in the courtroom, louder than the doubts that try to creep in. Her testimony is clear, it is strong, and it cannot be denied. She knows more than they ever imagined. She's seen things they thought they could keep hidden forever. She's pieced together the puzzle, and the pieces are beginning to fall into place. The defense lawyer opens his mouth to speak again, but before he can, Mia does something that causes the courtroom to fall deathly silent. She reaches into the bag beside her and pulls out a small, worn leather journal. It's old, its pages frayed, the binding cracked and yellowed with age. She places it carefully on the stand in front of her, her fingers brushing against the cover. "This," Mia says softly, but with a quiet authority that fills the room. "This is proof." The judge leans forward, his expression a mixture of curiosity and wariness. The defense lawyer steps back, eyeing the journal with suspicion. The room waits with bated breath, unsure of what's coming next. Mia opens the journal to the first page, her fingers trembling as she reads aloud. The words she speaks seem to freeze time itself. It's her mother's handwriting, unmistakable even after all these years. The entries are dated, one after another, and they describe in chilling detail the actions taken to cover up the truth. The lies, the decisions, the guilt. Everything that Mia's parents had tried to bury in the past is now being brought to light. Mia reads with steady clarity, her voice now firm and unwavering. "My mother knew what happened," she says, "and she helped him cover it up." The courtroom is silent. No one moves. The truth is now laid bare, impossible to deny. The defense lawyer steps forward, his expression shifting from confidence to disbelief as he glances between the judge, Mia, and the journal. The judge's face is unreadable, but the air in the room has changed. The carefully constructed facade is crumbling, and what remains is the raw, unvarnished truth. Mia's eyes are filled with determination as she finishes reading the entry. She places the journal down on the stand and looks directly at her mother. Her mother's eyes meet hers for the first time during the entire trial. The pain and shame are visible in her eyes, and Mia can see the truth that has been hidden for so long. The judge finally speaks, his voice steady but filled with a newfound gravity. "We will take a short recess," he announces, his tone final. The courtroom erupts into whispers as the weight of what has just been revealed begins to sink in. Mia stands tall, her shoulders back, her eyes never leaving her mother's. She has done it. She has told the truth, and there is no going back now. The pieces of the puzzle are finally in place, and the truth will not be silenced. As Mia opens the journal, the courtroom collectively inhales, a sharp gasp echoing through the room. All eyes are fixed on her. On the weathered pages she carefully unfolds, each turn of the paper punctuated by the heavy silence that fills the air. The leather-bound journal, once so carefully hidden, so carefully kept out of sight, is now exposed. The contents are more than just words. They are a damning testament to the years of lies, manipulation, and deceit that Mia's parents had managed to conceal from the world. The entries within the journal are raw and unflinching, each word written in her mother's familiar handwriting. At first glance, the writing seems innocuous, simple notes, daily musings. But as Mia begins to read aloud, the true nature of the entries becomes clear. Her mother's voice spills from the pages, each sentence more damning than the last, revealing the cracks in a marriage that had once been the epitome of respectability. The pages tell a story of a relationship that had been anything but perfect. Mia had known that her parents' marriage was strained, but reading it in her mother's own words is like hearing a confession from a stranger a stranger who had kept secrets from her own daughter, secrets that had festered beneath the surface for years. It's a history of betrayals, both big and small, of promises broken and trust shattered. At the center of it all is Mia's father, a man who had always been the cornerstone of their family. The entries recount how, in the early years of their marriage, he had made choices that would haunt them both. There had been a criminal investigation, something Mia had only ever heard whispered about, never spoken of openly in the family home. Her mother had kept it from her, kept it from everyone, including the people who should have known the truth. She had shielded him, covered up his mistakes, protected him from the consequences of his actions. But at what cost? Mia's heart pounds as she reads, her voice trembling but steady with the weight of what she is uncovering. She had never imagined that the truth would be so painful, so heavy to bear. But here it is, in black and white, the proof of her parents' betrayal. Her mother had willingly chosen to protect her father, even when it meant betraying the very people they both swore to protect. She had helped cover up his wrongdoings, helped him hide from the law, keeping the truth buried beneath layers of deceit and lies. As Mia reads aloud, the air in the courtroom seems to thicken, the weight of the words pressing down on everyone present. The judge, his eyes wide with disbelief, glances at the journal with trembling hands, his gaze shifting back to Mia, then to the defense lawyer, who stands frozen, unable to speak. The defense, the last line of defense for Mia's parents, is powerless. There are no words, no arguments that can counteract the overwhelming evidence that Mia has just laid before them. The lies are no longer hidden behind closed doors. They are out in the open for everyone to see. Mia stands firm, her body tense, as she fights to keep her composure. Her heart aches, the emotions swirling inside her threatening to spill over. Tears threaten to fall, but she wills them back, refusing to let her vulnerability show. This is not about her. This is about the truth, and the truth must be heard. She cannot break now. Not when everything they have tried to bury is finally being revealed. Her mother's actions, her father's choices, these were the things that Mia had been too young to understand, too innocent to see. But now, she is old enough to face them head-on, to confront the legacy of lies her parents had left her with. The courtroom is in complete shock. No one expected this. No one could have imagined that Mia, of all people, would be the one to expose the dark underbelly of her seemingly perfect family. The audience is still, the air thick with disbelief. For those who had known Mia's parents, who had seen them as paragons of success, as the perfect couple, this new reality is impossible to accept. The shock is palpable, like a physical blow to the chest. How could this be true? How could the people they had admired for so long be so different behind closed doors? The once respected family is now exposed, their carefully constructed facade crumbling before the eyes of everyone in that room. Mia's father, who had always been the image of authority, the pillar of their family, now seems small, his face a mask of guilt and fear. His jaw is clenched, his hands trembling, but he says nothing. Mia's mother, who had always been the calm, graceful figure at the center of their family, now seems like a stranger. Her face is pale, her eyes downcast, and though she doesn't speak, the weight of her shame is evident in every line of her face. For the first time, Mia sees her mother not as the perfect parent she had always known, but as a woman who had made terrible choices. Choices that had not only hurt her family, but had hurt the very people she had sworn to protect. The judge, though he tries to maintain his composure, is clearly rattled. He shifts uncomfortably in his chair, his eyes flicking back and forth between the journal and the defendants. His hands, which had once rested confidently on the bench, are now clenched tightly. It's clear that the magnitude of the revelations has shaken him as well. He had been expecting a case, but not this. Not the unraveling of a life so carefully constructed, so carefully maintained. The truth has a way of doing that. It rips the carefully crafted facade to pieces and exposes the raw, bleeding reality beneath. The defense lawyer, who had been so sure of his arguments, now stands speechless. He stammers, trying to find his footing, but the evidence is too overwhelming. The truth is undeniable. Mia has done what no one else could have done. She has shattered the illusions, the lies that her parents had built their entire lives upon. And there is no going back. The family they had shown to the world is no more. What remains is the broken truth, the pain, and the betrayal. Mia's gaze never wavers as she finishes reading, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions raging inside her. She's done what she set out to do. She's exposed the truth. And now, for the first time, the weight of her actions hits her. The reality of what she's done is more than she ever could have imagined. She's not just exposed her parents. She's exposed the life they had built together, the life that Mia had been so sure of, so proud of. The truth has changed everything. The judge's voice breaks through the silence, but it is filled with a solemn weight. "We will take a brief recess," he announces, his voice filled with gravity. "I need time to review the evidence." As Mia stands there, her eyes still on the journal, she knows that nothing will ever be the same. Her parents' lives will never be the same. Her life will never be the same. The trial, which had seemed like something so far removed from her, something distant and out of her control, has now become the very thing that defines her. She has become the one who exposed the lies, the one who brought the truth to light. It is both a victory and a curse, and Mia is left to wonder what the next steps will be in this painful journey. The courtroom slowly empties, the whispers of the crowd a soft hum in the background. Mia remains at the stand, her hands still gripping the journal, her mind spinning with the weight of what has just happened. The truth is out. There is no turning back. And though the path ahead is uncertain, one thing is clear. Mia has taken the first step toward a future where she will no longer hide from the truth. The courtroom remains still as the judge rises to his feet, his movement deliberate, but filled with a weight that is impossible to ignore. His gaze is no longer focused solely on the proceedings before him. Instead, he looks out over the room, his stern expression reflecting a depth of emotion that he had clearly been trying to suppress. The air in the room thickens, as if the very fabric of reality has shifted, as if the moment that had been building for hours, days, had finally arrived. Mia's heart pounds in her chest as she watches the judge, feeling the gravity of his every move, knowing that the next words that leave his mouth will shape everything that comes after. "This is a matter of grave consequence," he declares, his voice steady but filled with an undeniable weight of authority. His words hang in the air like the final hammer blow of a trial that, until now, had been a slow burn of tension, but now feels like it is reaching its catastrophic climax. The words echo in Mia's ears, and she feels them reverberate deep within her soul. For a moment, everything is still. Even the air feels heavy, suffocating, as though the entire world is holding its breath, waiting for the judge to make his decision. Mia stands there, rooted to the spot, her eyes fixed on her parents. They sit just a few feet away, their faces frozen in expressions that speak volumes: fear, anger, guilt, disbelief. Her mother, who has refused to meet Mia's gaze for most of the trial, finally looks up. Her eyes are wide, filled with a mix of emotions that Mia can barely comprehend. Her father, once a man of authority and power, seems smaller now, diminished in a way that Mia has never seen before. He looks at her with a blank expression, but Mia can feel the weight of his remorse pressing in on her. even from across the room. But in this moment, Mia realizes something. Something she has known deep down but hadn't fully grasped until now. The truth, despite the emotional turmoil it has caused, despite the destruction it has wrought, has set her free. It has unburdened her in ways she never could have imagined. She is no longer the scared child, the passive observer in her parents' broken world. She is the one who has taken control, who has spoken the unspeakable, and who has brought the darkness into the light. Her role in this trial, her testimony, has been the catalyst for everything that is unfolding now. For the first time in a long while, Mia feels a quiet sense of triumph. It is not the loud, celebratory victory of someone who has won an easy battle. It is something far deeper, far more profound. It is the realization that, by speaking the truth, she has done something more than protect herself. She has protected the very thing her family had abandoned for so long: integrity. She has not just brought justice to her family. She has taken a first step toward healing, even if the road ahead is uncertain and fraught with pain. The judge, as though sensing the weight of the decision he is about to make, clears his throat and addresses the court. With the evidence presented, including the testimony from young Mia, it has become clear that this case is not as simple as it initially appeared. He pauses for a moment, his eyes scanning the room, looking at Mia, at her parents, at the rest of the court. His voice remains steady, but the magnitude of his words is clear. Your mother, while complicit in the cover-up, will face legal consequences. The law has no mercy when it comes to such actions. Mia's mother's face pales as the words settle in. For the first time since the trial began, Mia sees her mother's eyes flicker with true emotion. A mixture of disbelief, fear, and something far deeper: guilt. Mia had known her mother was responsible, but hearing the judge say it out loud, hearing the consequences finally fall on her mother's shoulders, is like a hammer to the chest. Mia can feel her mother's gaze upon her, but she does not look away. She holds her ground, her heart heavy with the weight of the truth that is now out in the open. Her mother's involvement had never been a secret to Mia, but hearing the public admission of her betrayal hurts in a way she hadn't expected. The judge turns his gaze now to Mia's father, whose face is tight with a mixture of anger and shame. As for your father, the judge continues, his role in this cover-up is just as significant. His actions will result in a public reckoning, one that cannot be ignored. The law, too, will deal with him accordingly. Mia's father shifts slightly in his seat, his gaze flicking nervously toward the floor, then back to Mia. His eyes are filled with so many things: anger, resentment, sorrow. But above all, there is something far more chilling: fear. Mia had never seen him like this before. He had always been the one who was unshakable, the one who commanded respect, the one who had kept their family together. But now, in the face of the truth, he is not the man he used to be. The man who had once tried to control every situation, to hide every flaw, now stands before the judge, utterly exposed. The judge looks at Mia, his expression softening for just a moment before he turns away. This court will reconvene after a brief recess. The consequences of today's verdict will be discussed further, and we will move forward with sentencing. The air in the courtroom is thick with the aftermath of what has just been declared. The weight of the truth still hangs in the air, thick and suffocating, as everyone in the room tries to process what they have just witnessed. Mia stands there, her heart pounding in her chest, her hands trembling slightly as she holds herself upright. The reality of what has just happened is beginning to sink in. Her parents are no longer the perfect couple. They are no longer the flawless image of success and respectability they had once portrayed to the world. Their lives have been irrevocably changed by Mia's actions. The courtroom is buzzing with whispers. The spectators, jurors, and even the lawyers all trying to make sense of the revelations that have shaken the foundation of the case. But Mia stands tall. She doesn't look away. She has done what needed to be done. The truth is out now, and nothing will ever be the same again. Mia turns to leave the witness stand, her legs shaky but her resolve firm. As she walks down the aisle, the weight of everything that has happened feels both heavy and light at the same time. She feels as if she's been carrying a weight she didn't even know existed. And now that it's been lifted, she feels a strange sense of freedom. The truth has set her free in ways she never expected. As she exits the courtroom, she can feel the stares of the people around her, the eyes that watch her with a mixture of pity, admiration, and disbelief. But Mia doesn't care. She doesn't need their approval. She doesn't need to be understood. She knows what she has done, and in her heart, she knows that it was the right thing. Mia walks out of the courtroom with her head held high. The world outside seems different now, the streets buzzing with a new kind of energy. For the first time in a long time, she feels a sense of purpose. Her bravery has changed her family forever. It has shattered their illusions, but it has also given her something more valuable: control over her own future, the ability to shape her own path. The truth, no matter how painful, has set her free. It has given her the courage to stand on her own, to confront the darkness, and to walk away from the wreckage of her family's past. Mia knows that the journey ahead will not be easy. There will be scars left by the trial, by the revelations, by the breaking of a family that had once seemed unbreakable. But she also knows that she has taken the first step toward healing, toward a future where she no longer has to hide in the shadows of her parents' mistakes. As Mia steps outside into the cool air, she takes a deep breath, feeling the weight of the world slip away. The truth has given her a new beginning, a new sense of purpose. It's a small victory, but it is hers. And for the first time in a long time, Mia feels like she can breathe again.